One of the hats that I wear a lot of different hats in the area of sexuality, but one of the hats that I wear is a certified somatic experiencing trauma practitioner. So I went through a 3-year pretty intensive training program. And the reason I did that is because, there's so much trauma, right? Like almost every time that somebody shows up, man or woman, with some sort of sexual challenge, almost always it relates back to some sort of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, some sort of trauma. And yes, and I think that's very true. Like the older generation feels like this is something I need to keep hidden. I've had a lot of clients for the first time ever reveal to me or to their partners sexual abuse and trauma that they experienced as a child that they just kept under wraps. But you can always be able to work with your trauma and heal your sexual trauma. I use a very body-based, somatic-based approach with the belief system from Dr. Peter Levine that our trauma is in our body and we hold it in our body. And so it's a very gentle approach of being able to begin to release some of the trauma that's in our body and then learning how to regulate our nervous system. But yes, I'm so glad that you do that podcast, but I do want everyone to know, no matter what your age is, like that trauma can be healed for sure.
One of the things we talk about a lot is that tell your story, find somebody to share it with, because if you never have, there's all these things that go along, the shame, whatever you were told, however you were said your part was, all of those things. And what I think is what one of the other ladies I interviewed said, she went to get help for her weight, and the doctor sent her to a trauma therapist. Mm-hmm. And she had been abused by some neighbors, and it was brushed under the carpet. And what she told herself is, it was a long time ago, it doesn't matter, we're done. And yet here, all these years later, it's causing her things that aren't even related really to sex, but it is that experience that was causing problems in relationships and with her business. So what would you say to people who are just like, I can't tell, I won't tell, my life will fall apart if I tell?
Yeah, I mean, in my book, I talk about shame being the nastiest 5-letter word in the universe, and it's true. It is really systemic in our bodies when we experience that shame. The best way, what you're doing is absolutely correct. The best way to rid ourselves of shame, whether it's sexual shame or sexual trauma, is to be able to start to talk about it and to normalize it, right? Because we go through the world, just like I did, like thinking that I was broken, right? Like I'm the only person in the world who's never had an orgasm until I hit 52, and that's not true. There's a lot of other women, even young ones, that come and see me who are experiencing that, but because of that shame, we keep it to ourselves. So finding somebody that you can talk to, whether it's a friend or a counselor or your partner, right? And start to normalize it. Or, there are certainly a lot of groups for sexual abuse for women who have sexually abused and men have been sexually abused, and being in a recovery group like that where you're with other people. So I'm not alone. Really not alone. 1 out of 5 women have experienced trauma or non-consensual touch, right? So that is, we unfortunately very, very common. It's just that it's pushed under the carpet because often women feel like they were, especially when they're young, that they were responsible for it, right? That somehow their actions caused their mother's boyfriend to abuse them. No logical sense, but as a child, that is what we believe, and that belief stays, in our body. Or, they experience some pleasure, like even maybe an orgasm when they were touched, right? And a lot of those women who've had that can't have an orgasm because they've confounded pleasure with guilt and shame.